All right, good morning. How are we doing, everybody?
I'm doing pretty good.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Okay, so this morning,
God,
guys,
I love when we're right.
yeah, and I'm going to ask you to expand upon that a little bit for him. But first, let me just say, look, I don't want to talk about the shooter. I don't want to talk about gun crime statistics. I don't want to talk about gun control legislation and the incontrovertible fact that anyone currently serving in an elected office who pushes for gun control at all is serving in bad faith, having taken an oath that they never intended to uphold, having taken an oath with the explicit intention of breaking that oath at the first possible opportunity. I don't want to talk about that stuff on my show. But
But
and we're going to talk a little bit in this vein this morning about preaching to the choir and why you must. That's where we are. So let me touch on that a little bit before we get into the rest of it this morning. The preaching to the choir thing. We are all guilty to some extent of letting ourselves get into a bit of an echo chamber. I prefer to hear stories that I agree with. I don't particularly enjoy being exposed to material that's offensive or degenerate. I don't. Right? Like Crowder pointed out day before yesterday, after one of his shows was put into restricted state based on age, that, hey, by the way, y'all understand that there's actually homosexual pornography on YouTube that is completely unage restricted. It's just anybody can watch it. There are no safeguards to prevent your child not only from watching it, but from having it enter their suggested feed on autoplay. Right? That is a thing. Wow. We've got 2 people watching right now according to the metrics. I see James and Steve in the comments. Good morning, gentlemen. And somebody on Periscope. Hey, Periscope guy, you should hop over to YouTube or Facebook and watch us there. As I understand, it's easier to comment in the live chat there as well. So hop in, get involved. Let us know what you think. But like I was saying, we are all to some extent guilty of getting caught in our little bubbles with the media. Now, that said, it is also true, according to some specific studies, some very careful scientific studies, polls, analysis, etc., that by an enormous margin, that statement is far truer of the left than the right. And it's not just a matter of people who tend to vote and hold opinions on the left tend to get trapped in the bubble more aggressively. The bubble is generated by media producers who only consume media from their own side. Whereas on the right, you see a lot of the stuff like Shapiro owns so and so, or Crowder changed my mind stuff. On the right, you have producers, you have content creators, and even at Fox News, which is the furthest left publication that I can really tolerate, as far as a credible journalism. I won't say objective, that's not the right word, but semi-credible journalism. Even there though, you see them actively engaging with the other side. They'll have left-wing people on and engage them for their opinions, and it's not just a slaughter fest. It's not just a to some extent, there's a ratings grab with the, oh, let's see this fight, but there's clearly a much more good faith engagement on the right, whereas on the left, and you don't see as much of that on the right as I would like to be seen, and that's largely because on the left they refuse to engage. Right? Tim Pool mentions often that he gets criticism for having so many right-wing personalities on his talk show. But the fact is, he reaches out to left-wing people, and he's brought the receipts. He's shown the Twitter conversations. He's shown the emails, the private messages in some cases. Which, say what you will about the ethics of sharing that. I think he's cool because he's a party to it. Single-party consent type of deal. But he reaches out to people on the left all the time, and they refuse to come on his show because he's perceived to be not sufficiently left-wing. Not because he's perceived to be aggressively right-wing, just he's not sufficiently radical left. And Tim Pool's a left-wing guy. He's basically...
Very open about it.
Yeah, he's very open about it. He's somebody who has clearly left-wing opinions, objectively left-wing opinions, many of which have been tempered dramatically to the right over the years as he's frankly grown up a bit. The more he's exposed to reasonable information, for example, on the question of healthcare, he says that he voted for Bernie when the first time around. And was super pro universal health care. And now he says that he's pro the idea of universal health care, but has come to understand that it's not practicably achievable, that it can't be done in a real way. So, he gets treated by the lefties like he's some super hyper far right extremist, and that's just couldn't be much further from the truth. So that brings me back to the idea of preaching to the choir. You cannot rely on people like me to get the message out and to change the minds of the radical leftists, because they simply will not see my content. They will not be exposed to people like me. They will not actually be exposed to the opinions and arguments of Tim Pool or Tucker Carlson or Ben Shapiro or Steven Crowder or any of them. They will simply not consume that media. The only way to engage the hordes, excuse me, the only way to reach the unconverted and baptize them is to preach to the choir, so that when the choir goes out into the world and encounters the unwashed heathens, the choir can spread the word, can sing the messages, right? So it is not sufficient that you watch my show or shows like it. It is not sufficient that you engage with conservative media and expose yourself to the conservative narrative, what I like to think of as propaganda. As I'm sure many of you have heard me say in the past, posters that say it's good to kill babies are spreading a message, and those are propaganda. Posters that say it's not good to kill babies are also spreading a message and are also propaganda. But one of them is morally tolerable. That's propaganda. So it is not sufficient that you should be exposed to good opinions, to morally decent opinions like ours. You must share them. Share this video for one, but again, the lefties in your life are probably not going to click on it. So you need to be discussing it with them. When people make comments around you, don't be afraid to engage them. Ask them why. Ask them according to what data. Ask them compared to what. You know, you hear somebody railing on about the fight for 15, ask them, well, if your milk costs twice as much, then how does having twice as much pay help you? If everything is twice as expensive, then how does it help you to earn twice as much money? You'll find that a person who has left-wing opinions has not given them thought.
They've given them the feels, but they haven't given it the thought. So, with all that being said, I go back to what I said in the very beginning. I love it when we're right. I am not somebody who is going to have false modesty and say, gosh, I hate being right. No. Fuck that. I love being right. I love it. And we were right. We said, okay, we need to slow down, okay, because over the next day or two, there's going to be a whole lot of facts that drop about this shooting that happened in Colorado. And we just don't have all the information yet. And the narrative was already being established that this is the continuation of the white supremacy and the patriarchy and the gun culture and all of the ridiculous sophistry that you hear come from the left surrounding these issues. And then, of course, the truth came out that this guy was not of European descent. He was a Syrian refugee. And it looks like this was not even inspired by religion so much as the guy's literally crazy. Okay? And by the by...
but you repeat yourself.
Yes. and by the by, in my research, it appears as though he purchased the weapon he used legally about a week ago. So, putting all that into context is important because, like last week when the thing happened with the spas that got shot up, again, they saw the color of the dude's skin and immediately, it's white supremacy, it's Asian hate, it's all this ridiculous nonsense. But then you find out later a couple of the guy's victims were also white. And what's really going on is that guy was also crazy, and he had some real problems with his sex life and decided to take it out on prostitutes and people that would visit prostitutes.
I don't suppose having problems with your sex life includes things like, I don't know, actively and habitually engaging prostitutes.
Well, I guess that depends on how you define problems. So, but
I'm a pretty vanilla guy. I've been to one strip club recreationally in my life, and that was more an insistence from some of the boys that they wanted to throw me a proper going away when I joined the Army on my way out to basic. Never hired a hooker.
Nope.
I've known soldiers who made a habit of it. Never done that. And thank gods too, because I was stationed in Hawaii, and Ron White tells a hell of a story about this one particular strip in Hawaii that you should go listen to because it's hilarious, and if you're a soldier, it's instructional.
But anyhow, so last week started out with all of this white supremacy stuff, but then after a couple of days, the facts came out, and no, it turns out it didn't have a damn thing to do with white supremacy. And then again, we caught a glimpse of this guy's skin, which is lighter in color, as Syrians tend to be. And it was just assumed, it's a white guy and it's a supremacist and blah, blah, blah. Actually, no, turns out he doesn't have European descent at all. Again, your narrative about white supremacy is blown out of the water. The only one of these mass shooting events that is directly related to racial reasons was the Charleston shooting with Dylan Roof. And, funny thing about that, Dylan Roof was honest. He was trying to cause a race war. That was why he did what he did. So the thing about racists and supremacists and whatever, like, they don't hide it. They think they're right, just the same as Chris and I think we're right, and we do not hide our opinions. So as you start to combine all of this stuff together, the entire narrative that there's this undercurrent of supremacy and evil, and it's infused with the gun culture, and we have to, we've got to have more gun control legislation and whatnot. It's all built on such a foundation of lies. It's like an echo chamber inside of an echo chamber inside of an echo chamber. Like, there are still people that sincerely believe Donald Trump said there are very fine people on both sides, and that he was including those torch-wielding psychopaths in that commentary.
Right.
Whereas
even though he explicitly said otherwise in the same, almost the same breath.
Yes. And when you point out to people, look, that's not what he said. This is being taken so far out of context. It's ridiculous. It's shocking to them. I've had people laugh at me, but kind of bringing it back around to the echo chamber and everything else. Like, I was all over.
Just real quick, the laugh at you bit. Just to be clear, the people that you're talking about, they will not accept if you tell them what is correct. In the very same speech that you're alluding to, where Donald Trump said there were fine people on both sides, not only did he explicitly disavow certain groups, the groups that you are trying to use that language to suggest that he in fact supports those certain groups. Not only did he explicitly disavow those groups, but he made it a point to say when he said there were fine people on both sides, he also said something about there being troublemakers and agitators on both sides. That there was a lot of blame to go around. And absolutely a true statement. And I'm sorry to interrupt to break a chain, but I think that needed to be said.
Yeah, so I was all over CNN's front page this morning, and obviously they've abandoned the white supremacy narrative because that fell apart real quick.
Yeah.
But as a friend of ours put it, they can still focus on the Rudy Tooty Shooty aspect of it and continue to push their gun control narrative. But for example, Ted Cruz said, and bless him, Ted Cruz actually said gun control is racist. And so, of course, Jake Tapper of CNN has just said, oh, these comments are ridiculous. And it's not, because to sum up what Ted Cruz said is that every time there's a shooting, the left comes out as this complete, so, oh, we've got to do something. Think of the children. And then, of course, there's the racial aspect that's always infused into it. And Ted Cruz actually fought back and said, no, it's actually the gun control that's racist. And this is something we've talked about a lot on this show, how we met Maj Toure.
And Maj Toure with Black Guns Matter. The first I saw of Ted Cruz's comments from yesterday was a tweet from Maj Toure.
Yeah, I think he gets a well-deserved victory lap.
No doubt.
But the worst, Steve chastised us yesterday for talking about Don Sourpuss yesterday instead of today. I watched his video on the matter this morning. You're welcome to everybody out there. That's 6 minutes and 17 seconds of my life I can never get back. And B,
and by the way, I'm going to let you have spent that time so that I don't have to.
Yeah. And B, God, it's just an emotional plea to. He basically says, okay, fine, we have the Second Amendment, but we also have the First Amendment, and we're allowed to use the First Amendment to criticize the Second Amendment and any other amendments. And it's like, wow, Don, are you that stupid or are you that evil?
Yeah, because the argument you're making there is that you are allowed to criticize amendments is equal to saying that you should automatically revoke the right of citizens to a fair and speedy trial, to be protected from unlawful search and seizure, to be guaranteed a jury by your peers, to be protected by your government from cruel and unusual punishment. Yeah, yes, you're right, Don. The First Amendment is an explicit recantation of all of the other civil liberties. Let's go with that. See how that works out. Because, that includes the 14th Amendment, Don.
And this is how the left lies pretty frequently. It is a true statement that the First Amendment means you're allowed to criticize the other amendments. Absolutely. But I don't think that's a road you really want to walk too far down for a whole bunch of reasons. Because, what happens when you use the First Amendment to criticize the First Amendment? Just by the by. But kind of tying a bow on it, you want to talk about an echo chamber. If all you watch is CNN, you're going to sincerely believe that you are in the know. And you're going to think you've got all the information. And you're going to have seen this emotional plea from Don Lemon. And because you felt, not thought. You think guys like Chris and I, are jerks who... you sincerely believe that it's guys like Chris and I who are the ones playing politics with it. When instead, we're the ones going, no, let's let a day or two go by. There's always more information that comes out about these events. There's no way we can know everything in the first 24 hours. Let's just wait. And then we end up being proven right. And it turns out this was not white supremacy at all. And if it was, we'd know in the first day or two because they brag about it. Richard Spencer's not afraid to tell you he's a neo-Nazi.
Or that he's a vapid Biden supporter.
But that's I think that's me for this morning, sir.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go ahead and draw it up myself because I got to go get my deep tissue massage this morning at 9:30, so I got to get out the door pretty shortly. Guys, thanks for watching. We appreciate your eyeballs and your attention and your time. We love you, and we'll see you tomorrow. With any luck, we'll have a total win, but I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Y'all take care and be safe out there.